Hey folks, Meteorologist Hunter McCullough here for Northern News Now. Yesterday's episode of Beyond the Forecast, we talked more about the Skew-Ts and what we use to forecast them for. Again, it's a cross-section of our atmosphere looking at from the base here, the surface, all the way up to the troposphere, the top of the troposphere. This is all where weather happens and what we look at here. So that's what happened yesterday. Today we're going to go more in depth in another example of how we use Skew-T diagrams to look at forecasting material. And this is the cap. We've talked about the cap before, when there's a layer of warm air above our heads that keeps us from seeing those thunderstorms developing. Without further ado, here's a look at how we use Skew-T diagrams to actually help us forecast that. Welcome back, folks. Meteorologist Hunter McCullough here, continuing to talk to you more about soundings, about Skew-T diagrams, and now we're going to talk a little bit more about its relation to severe weather and how we forecast with severe weather. One of the many aspects of severe weather forecasting with Skew-Ts is looking for what's called a cap. And we talk about the cap quite a bit when it comes to our atmosphere and when it comes to summer months here and whether it's going to allow us to see thunderstorms. So what exactly is the cap? It doesn't stand for anything. It's not an acronym or anything like that. Quite literally, a cap of warm air above our heads. So this diagram really explains it very well, I think. So in order to get thunderstorm activity, or really any activity whatsoever, you need warmer air at the surface, or at least at a certain level. So the warmer air is warmer than the air surrounding it. As long as that is true, the air will continue to rise. So as long as this parcel of air is warmer than its surrounding air, it will continue to rise and saturate as it rises as well, start to form clouds, start to get thunderstorm activity as well. Now sometimes there's a layer of actually warmer air. It's called a temperature inversion, because normally in the troposphere, which again is the layer of the atmosphere that we see weather happen, we normally see temperatures falling with height. But occasionally we do have a layer that actually rises with height. That's called a temperature inversion. And sometimes, again, the warmer air above our head, once that parcel of air that is warmer than its environment reaches the actually warmer air, well, it stops rising. So it's not allowed to rise any further. So we might get some clouds, might get some stray rain showers, very light. But if we do have a chance for severe weather, we need to break through that warmer air in order to actually see those severe thunderstorms develop. So it can actually act as a little bit of a stable layer of our atmosphere, not allowing for thunderstorms to develop. It blows our forecast quite a bit. Maybe not quite a bit, but it does happen every once in a while where the cap does not allow thunderstorms to form, and we do see some issues with forecasts. Now, an uncapped atmosphere or a weak cap. If there's sufficient heating, if it's really warm at the surface, we're able to see that air rise pretty quickly, or there's an area where the cap is thin or weak. We can actually see that warm air because it has momentum. It's already rising. It can bust through that cap and access, once again, an environment where the air around it is colder than the parcel of air. And then we start to see severe thunderstorms develop with that cap eroding away. So that's a huge challenge for us when it comes to forecasting severe thunderstorms, is whether we can break that cap, whether the cap's going to be too strong to where we're not going to be able to break it. And so it's definitely something that throws a wrench into our forecast quite a bit into the summer. Now, we talked about Skew-T diagrams before. I want to illustrate what that looks like in a Skew-T diagram. We talked earlier about what that looks like with sunshine, with rain, with anything like that. So with this, in order for a parcel of air to rise, we need the temperature and the dew point to be falling with height for the most part. Dew point and temperature meet right here. So that means that we're going to be seeing saturation, and we have unstable air, so it should be rising. But the problem is, as we have this warm nose, is what we call it, this warm nose above our heads, that's not going to allow that air to rise. It's too big right now, according to this sounding, to see really any thunderstorm activity from the surface anyway, because this warm nose is extending too far. It's way too warm just above our heads to allow this air at the surface to rise. What we need is some cooling over there for our air just above our heads, or we need this air to get warmer at the surface in order to see that thunderstorm activity start. But this is what a cap looks like with the Skew-T diagram. And I hope to be talking more about thunderstorms and how we predict them via the Skew-T diagram. It gets pretty complicated pretty quickly, because then you have to start talking about all these little lines here. There's moist adiabats, there's dry adiabats, there's temperature as well in there, and so it gets complicated pretty fast, and I hope to talk more about that in depth in the future. But for now, that is your basic look at what a Skew-T diagram is used for and how it can basically tell us about thunderstorm activity, specifically whether we have a cap or not. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you found this interesting. Definitely, as a meteorologist, it's very interesting. It's one of my favorite parts of meteorology, is analyzing Skew-T diagrams and just seeing what exactly is going to happen based on what the Skew-T diagrams are saying and what we think is actually going to happen. So huge part of meteorology that cannot be overstated is the Skew-T diagram. In the meantime, thank you very much for hopefully enjoying this, and we'll see you at the next video.